Well then, Raven Powell. I always start off like that.
Dun dun dun.
How are you doing today?
Good, good. Trying
So,
to, yeah.
so for the folks listening, Miss Raven is my sister, and she's in town for Christmas.
Oh, yay.
So I had to fucking sit down with you because you're a hilarious comedian and you do a whole bunch of cool shit, and you're
No.
just out here fucking figuring it out like the rest of us.
Yeah, man. Just perpetual student of life. I'm like really trying to embrace that. Like, really be okay with just keep learning and keep having new experiences, and shit'll come together.
I think that's important.
It
So
is.
many people get stagnant.
They do. Or I don't know, I think people get caught up on having one particular idea and don't really want to wrap their head around, something maybe looking different than what they thought it was.
Yeah.
And I'm very much like that if it's not looking exactly like this, but then I have to start to like really kind of step back and think like, okay, I'm putting so much pressure on myself to do this one particular thing, whatever it is. But then it's like, okay, why do I even really want to do this thing? Like, is it something that I genuinely want to do, or is it something that I think other people want me to do? Is it, for some superficial reason? So I think like really kind of trying to realize what I'm doing things for has helped me chill the fuck out.
Yeah, you got to know your why. Have you read that book, Start With Your Why? Have you heard of that book?
I have heard of it,
I
but I
don't know
haven't
if
read it.
it's a pretty good book. It's essentially that, like knowing why you do something, like starting with that. Because some people just start and they don't really know why they're doing anything. They just do, which isn't necessarily like the worst thing in the world. I mean, it's better than not doing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, So you have been in St. Petersburg for almost 3 years now.
It'll be 3 years in August.
How's Florida treating you?
It's good. I think I'm definitely getting what I came for as far as kind of pushing my life forward. But again, it's one of those things that's like it looks completely different than what I thought it would look like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, again, I'm just kind of like really sitting back and taking the time to reflect and appreciate kind of the headspace that I've been able to get to from, kind of moving and really realizing like moving doesn't fix your problems.
It doesn't.
Because it was like when I first got down there, I was kind of like still doing the exact same thing. And it has taken me a bit to kind of really get to this point where I'm, doing less thinking about it and talking about it and actually really starting to do these things. Sometimes it takes you a little while, but yeah, it just really made me realize that a lot of I really do need to look more inward to driving change in my life versus being like, oh, I have a shitty job, or, I'm as soon as I graduate, things will be better, or as soon as I get a good job, things will be better, and kind of really just looking at myself of why, you know what, you just put too much pressure on yourself. That's why you're so fucking unhappy all the time.
Yeah, I mean, so oftentimes, people feel like the next thing is what's going to make them happy. I'm guilty of that as well. It's like, once I do this, it's gonna be good. It's not
Yeah,
always the fucking case, man.
yeah,
Not,
yeah.
it's oftentimes not the case.
Or like just appreciating the journey too. I think it's hard. I think we're so, we want things now, and we look, and you can go see thousands of people who look like they have their shit together seemingly, overnight. So I know for me, I feel like if I'm spending my time on this, I'm missing out on XYZ, or I'm going to run out of time, or I'm not going to be able to do it. And it's like you just work yourself up into a frenzy of just like being so inactive and not actually getting anything accomplished.
Yeah, just paralysis by analysis, which we
Yeah.
were talking about yesterday. So, what's been like some of the biggest differences for you, having been down there for a little bit now? Obviously, in Missouri, it's a very different fucking world.
It is. I think the vibe in general, it just seems. Well, the interesting thing about St. Petersburg is it is still a big city, but it feels like a small town. Like it's really not that much smaller. It's probably maybe like 40,000 smaller than the city of St. Louis. But it just feels kind of like a nice slow pace. Everybody really is on island time, and the weather is beautiful. So it's kind of hard to be. I mean, there are plenty of people who are fucking assholes, but it's really hard, at least for me, to kind of even when I'm like waking up in the morning and I'm like, ugh, I really don't want to get out of bed or whatever. It's like you look out the window and it's like, damn, it's
So
looking real
nice.
fucking nice outside.
Yeah, man, because you look out this fucking window and it's just like,
I'm struggling right
I
now.
don't want to be out there,
I'm
man.
like trying to be like,
Oh.
well, this is a pretty color scheme. Like, I don't know.
Gray on gray.
Yeah, but you know
So beautiful out
when you're
there. You got the gray.
driving, it's like it's hard to see. Like my eyes are not used to
Like the dimness.
the weird color palette right now. I don't even know how
Really?
to describe. Like the light is bouncing off of the sky in a way that my eyes aren't like really used to anymore. Like I feel like I haven't been gone that long, but I'm really used to things like always being super green, even if the sky is dark and gray. Like there's life. You know,
Yeah.
and here it's just like barren. It just is like brown and gray, and the light is weird, and then it's raining, and like,
Yeah. I don't like the short days. Like those
yeah,
make it tough.
same.
I made that post the other day about seasonal depression. Hopefully, like I just wanted to like shine light on it for some people. We talked about on social. Like everybody feels like everybody lives a fucking perfect life, but this time of year is super hard.
It
Like
is.
for me, like I've always been a fairly productive person, but I've always struggled throughout this time of year. And now, especially since I'm just 100% doing my own thing, like I don't have like a corporate 9 to 5 to go to be like held accountable
Yeah,
like throughout the day. So when the days are short, you just don't want to go
you
outside or do
don't.
it. But like once you start doing things, you start building that momentum. It makes it easier to do. But yeah, man, these short days and shit.
It sucks. I was I talked to myself. I was saying to myself this morning, it's just like just hop out right off the plane and instant seasonal just depression. Like just it's just right back on.
Man, sunlight's so important,
It
man.
is.
And when you don't get it here, I mean, and because of the clouds, like you need more sunlight, and we're further away from the equator, so like you're in a solid spot. Like I think I'm probably fucking wrong on this, but I think what 30 minutes of sunlight will do for you in Florida, the further you go north, I think like here you probably need like an hour or more of sunlight
Probably.
to equal that same amount of sun exposure.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good for my mental health. I think that it's just always interesting to kind of look back and kind of see different situations that you've gone through that have set you up to get to a certain point.
Yeah.
Like, and just like remembering all the times that I've been, anxious or worried and kind of realizing like, well, all of those various situations like have led you to, really being a place where you can kind of have a little more playfulness with your life and stop taking your shit so seriously. Like get shit done, but also realize like you should be doing things because you enjoy them and you want to do them and you just kind of want to foster that creative energy and positive energy through your entire life versus worrying about whether this is going to happen or that, or if I don't accomplish this,
Hmm.
somebody's going to think I didn't do something, or another. So I think being in Florida has really kind of just helped me chill out just from the people that I've met and just kind of some of the just, I think every person that you meet in every situation you find yourself in, like, if you don't walk away with a lesson, like you aren't paying attention.
100%. Everybody can teach you something. I don't know. It was a meme. I think it credited it to Bill Nye, but it said that every person you ever meet will know something you don't. And that's true.
Yeah, it is true.
I mean, it may not be significant to your life, but they know something that you don't fucking know. That's for sure. Now, the one thing that I do like, I don't really like it, but I guess I can appreciate, like, so you go through this, like, shitty time of year, but then, like, you really appreciate the green.
Yeah, you do.
Like, you really, really do. Like, the spring is the fucking best time. And, like, if you go north, there's no vibe that I've ever been around, like, Chicago during the summertime. Like,
They love it. They're living
it's
it.
because you go through that shitty ass winter. It's even worse than here. And then
Yeah.
and then like you can start going outside, like everybody's fucking outside and taking advantage of it. It's like,
It's like
hey,
an event.
yeah,
Yeah.
because you only have like 6 to 9 months or 6 to 8 months of that shit. You know what I mean? Like the other, 4 to 6 months are just gonna suck.
Yeah. Well, I will say with Florida, it's a little different. Like, because we have that hurricane season where it's
Yeah.
raining every day. And it's, it gets back sunny and like pretty much immediately, but it still does just make you be like, God, I don't want to go do anything. Like, it's just raining.
Yeah.
Flood your street flooding. I don't know. It's like pros and cons because then it's like you could still go to the fucking beach like
Yeah.
afterward. So I don't know.
Pros and cons to everything. That's why I'll probably ultimately end up in Austin.
Yeah.
So fucking nice. It's still Central Time Zone. I'm gonna fucking change my time zone.
Important.
It really is. So the plan is to be a snowbird. Chicago,
Okay.
Chicago during like the summer and spring, and then like winter and fall. Go to Austin. Right now it's like in the 60s in Austin. It's so beautiful. I've been there 4 times this year. I love it. I think I'm going back in April
Hmm.
for a jiu-jitsu tournament and like conference. So I just love that fucking city.
Yeah, I still haven't been. I really need to go. I need to this year I need to just travel more. I need to just use my vacation time far more wisely.
Just
Like
do it.
I'm not coming back to St. Louis as often as I was.
Don't do it,
Like,
man.
I just feel like I'm using all of my money, all of my vacation time to just come back. Not that I don't love everybody, like obviously I do, but
The world is big.
yes, I
Why
need
keep
to.
visiting the same spot?
Oh my God, yes.
There's so many places. So I told myself I went to Austin 4 times this past year. Like it wasn't all planned. I went down for one thing and then I got invited back and then a couple certifications. So I'm going down again for like another tournament to network and stuff. But unless they invite me back for like a jujitsu tournament, I won't be back because I've already been there so
So
many
many times,
times.
yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So the world is huge.
It is. I want to really start being just more mindful of the fact that I spend so much time just in one place. There's so many things that I want to do and see. So I just need to budget my money right
It's
and just
easy to
make it
do. It's
happen.
not even that expensive. That's the
Yeah.
thing. You can do it. So my friend Justin and I, we just drove to Pittsburgh on this past Friday,
Yeah.
and then went to Cleveland. And now, granted, I just tagged along, so I didn't really have to like pay a lot. Like he
Yeah.
covered the room in Pittsburgh because he was already doing it, and like I just kind of tagged along like last minute. But I still threw in on gas. I think I split all the gas with him. I think we did like 4 tanks the whole time. Maybe he might have picked up one more. Either way, it's not that expensive.
It's not if you have people to travel with. Like,
Exactly.
I.
Find one or two other people. You guys can fucking Airbnb. Worst case scenario, I'm going to LA at the end of February. So like the end of February going into March. I think 27th to the 4th I'll be there. And I'm seriously thinking about if I can't crash with whoever, I'm probably gonna like rent a van and just sleep in the fucking van. Dead
That
ass.
is so you.
I
I
mean,
mean, yeah, it's
I'm
expensive.
gonna need a vehicle to get around anyway. Let's just say I Uber everywhere. Let's just say I do that.
I mean, that adds up a
It's
lot.
going to add up a lot. It really will. So, I mean, the convenience of a vehicle, being able to get around, I feel like renting a vehicle is probably just the smart move
Where
anyway.
are you gonna shower at?
Gold's Gym.
You right. You know what?
I got a
I
Gold's Gym membership.
go in there, get your morning workout on. You
Well,
know,
especially in the beginning as an entrepreneur, like, you got to fucking make it happen, man.
you do. Those few years of driving around the country, sleeping in a van, showering at the gym.
You know what? Whenever I was a kid, there was an SNL skit with Chris Farley, and he was a like a guidance counselor, and the whole premise was like you're gonna end up living in a van down by the river. Like if you don't get your shit together, you keep smoking pot, you're gonna be a fucking loser living in a van down by the
You're like, that
river.
sounds great.
That sounds fantastic. Where do I sign up?
Like, yeah, why not?
Give me a fucking van in a river. I'll go camping.
I don't think I'm meant for that lifestyle.
Not long term, but it doesn't sound as bad as it once did.
No, no, we need to get a freaking van so we can go to Burning Man, like 2020 or something. Like for real, yeah. I need
Burning
that.
Man.
I need
Yeah,
that in my life.
fuck yeah. My mom has a camper. Big
Fuck.
one.
Well, let's
I
get
don't
it.
know. The plan was to do it this year or past year. I lost my job. Things happened. I got broke.
Everything happens, but I think saying 2020 will give us plenty of time to like see who else is gonna go. The
Jake wants to go. Our cousin Jake, he just made a Facebook group about
we
it.
need to make we got to find these people for commitment because the biggest thing I'm such a planner, but I hate making plans in the distant future because people
We'll fall
will
through.
fall through. It's like,
Yeah.
yo,
Well,
like
you have to plan in the future for Burning Man.
I mean, yeah, you absolutely you
So
can't.
Deja and I are planning a Greece trip in 2020.
Ooh,
Yeah, well, she made me lock down a date because I kept putting it off.
that sounds fun.
She was like, I'm like, Deja, I want to go to Peru. I want to go to Burning Man. I wanna do-" She's like, 2020.
I know somebody who just went to Greece. I was worried though when she was there because they had that big fire on that one like tourist town. Wasn't that Greece? Where like the whole town burnt down by the water. Everyone was jumping in the water and died.
I don't
Anyway,
know.
I don't know. She was there,
Maybe.
and I was like texting her. I'm like, oh my god, I hope you're like alive, and I'll see you at work. But she was like, it was beautiful. Like,
Yeah, that'd be a dope ass. And it's cheap. Once you get there, it's not expensive, and you can go all around Europe on like a bus or like a train rather. I don't know if people take the bus around Europe, but hop on the fucking train, go all around, check out all these different countries. It's not as expensive as people think. I
Yeah.
think getting there is the most expensive thing.
yeah,
You know what I
the
mean?
airfare.
Exactly. And if you use points, like you can figure it out if you plan ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to slowly build up my Southwest loyalty.
If you're going overseas, you're probably gonna need something
Oh yeah, I
else.
can't use them. They don't do that.
I
Shafted.
think they bought a smaller airline though that does go overseas, like
Oh,
Wow or some shit like that.
wow. Wow, Airlines.
Wow.
But no, I traveling is definitely on my list of things that I want to do more. I just feel like I don't know, I love experiencing different people's cultures and seeing how different people live, and I always think, I think in America we're so this is America, we're Americans, and this is how the rest of the world is, and it's like so not like that. Like people
Yeah.
are living similar lifestyles just because that's, the modern world we live in, but you can go to so many different countries and they just have such different mentalities and ways of looking at life.
This is true. Now I do. So I've definitely I've been at this point to where I've been just like super fed up with how things are here, and I'm just like, you know what, man? I'm just gonna get to a point like once my kids are gone, like I'm gone, like I'm fucking out of here. And but I feel like I've heard some people talk, and I just know that like the world's not all peaches and
No,
roses.
it's everywhere has their problems, and you can get there and be like, this is shitty too.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna go check out some of the places in the world. I'm like, you know what? This place isn't so bad. This place isn't so bad.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere has corruption. Everywhere has their, bullshit. We have our, our fantastic spectacle of a government going on, but everybody has turmoil in their government
Hmm.
and freaking civil unrest. So it's just kind of like it's an illusion to think you're gonna move out of the United States and go somewhere and things be
Be
great.
better, yeah. But on that same note, it's fucking frustrating, man.
It is.
Like all the different things that are in place, like I don't understand why it has to be so complicated. We have so many systems that are in place that aren't for the benefit of the people
Cause that's not even that's not the goal.
to be the best.
It's no, it's not because if America really wanted to be the best, we would, provide some basic things to people. Like we would want there to be less inequality because in my opinion, if people were educated and, if people had access to resources, they could buy more shit. Like wouldn't you want people to like
Yeah.
participate more in the capitalist system? Like I guess I'm just kind of like confused. Like they definitely
Well, you would hope so, but I mean, if you have 1%,
I mean
kind
they're
of
yeah.
driving that most of that force. Now, it is contradictory because it's like, we say we want to be the best, but like we don't invest in these things to like help our people be the best.
Yeah, we have people who are not even getting basic education,
Yeah.
who don't have places to stay, and
Yeah. Now, I think a lot of people fuck up because they confuse equality with equality of outcome, right?
yeah,
And that's not the case. Like we're all not gonna. At the end of the day, there's still gonna be losers.
disparity.
There's still
Yeah,
gonna be
for
winners.
sure.
But
Yeah.
we still have to help people, right? I mean, you have communities. I didn't know that schools are funded by like personal property taxes of their community for
Mm.
a lot of times. So you have poor people. Of course, they're not gonna have money because there's no personal property tax money
Huh.
to fund their school. So like, why are we not doing something to help with that? You got programs to where you can bring inner city kids out to the fucking to nicer schools, but oftentimes those get shut down after a period of time. You know what I mean? Like I had a guest, Brittany Cloudy. She's a teacher now. She was a product of that. She was able to go to a really nice school at Marquette.
Mm-hmm.
But now that closed down. Like people don't have that opportunity, and
Yeah.
that's unfortunate.
Well, it keeps people in a bubble when you don't have good teachers, you don't have good schools, and the only, you see people working on these jobs and single parents, family homes. Like when I was a substitute teacher for Riverview, it was really sad because you could see a lot of those kids that, like, unless somebody is taking a personal interest in them and their development, like, they really are going to just be a statistic, their mom is like working two jobs or their dad's in jail or whatever ha- when you talk to them it's like it's so messed up to say, but it's like you're kind of gone already. Like your view on life, unless somebody really takes you and is like, there's a better way. I mean, they don't know any better. No one is doing anything for them. The
Yeah,
schools aren't funded. The school's not accredited. I don't know if it's accredited now, but the teachers are overwhelmed, and then they're putting teachers in there who don't give a fuck.
yeah.
They give them a pay bump to go to this, poor minority school, and it's like
And
just hundreds of kids are lost.
kids are just getting passed on to the next
Yeah.
grade. They never learn to read different. Now, at what point is somebody lost? Like hopeless?
I don't want to say somebody's completely hopeless, but it's kind of like if you already don't even have some of the fundamentals of critical thinking or of, seeing seeing different sort of success for yourself. Like if all of your role models really are, drug dealers and rappers and stuff, you don't see education, which could, ultimately help kind of free you from your situation
Yeah.
as an option for you.
Yeah, and kids are shitheads, man. Like kids will make you feel bad for trying to do better, and you can extrapolate that to adults, right? We were talking about this last night, being in the Midwest, being in a conservative environment. Like, there's a ton of scarcity around here as far as mindset is concerned, and people feel like your gain is their loss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, well, why are you fucking reading that book?
St.
Like,
Louis is the city of haters. That's what they say.
well, I think a lot of kids do that too. Just like in general, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they find something different and they just attack it. You know what I mean? Like, I think about the things that I thought were important growing up, and I'm just like, none of that shit's fucking.
Like, why did I care about that?
None of it matters. None of that shit matters. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's just a lot of social pressure. I mean, we're taking in a lot of images all the time, and especially as kids, like, you don't want to feel like the outsider. So
yeah,
you'll go to extreme lengths to
conform.
conform and even go out of your way sometimes to make somebody else feel bad because they need to be the outsider. It can't be me, you know.
Yeah,
I think it really is just like
yeah,
survival tactics because
it
schools are a
is.
little, little system.
Yeah, it is. It's its own little community and little ecosystem, and it's so weird to kind of see people work within that. But whenever I think about it, like once you get out into the real world and like you're out of school, like that whole structure just disappears in the sense of like, you probably don't talk to any of those people. Those people you thought were important don't matter.
Right.
The people who you thought were losers because maybe they didn't have like a boyfriend or girlfriend, or
Those
maybe
people are probably like the
they have,
most successful
and have the best
people.
lives. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they were taught like what really matters.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's just interesting when you think about like kind of where people are and how things used to be and what you thought was important.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
like none of that matters. Like again, the people didn't have a life. Like those people are all doing well right now. Like they probably have a pretty good job, or not
Yeah.
across the board, obviously.
We're all just all stars.
Yeah,
No.
but some of those people like they were taught things that actually matter.
Yeah, yeah. I know I was like not made fun of a lot, but I think within the black community in particular, it's like being the smart kid is not cool. And it's really unfortunate. But
Yeah,
I think that has to go with some of that just kind of like learned self hatred that just,
yeah,
within the community in general, where we weren't even allowed to be educated. So seeing people who are educated kind of, if you don't see that option for yourself, or you don't feel like you've internalized such negative images of yourself,
hmm,
on a broader scale, like if you see somebody else that might have something, a black kid who is educated and does think learning is cool, you kind of have some of that discomfort because it's like maybe something that you want but you don't feel like it's for yourself, but they must think they're better, and you kind of act out against them.
yeah. I mean, I think people will let their insecurity start to take over, and it's just like, well, you think you're better than me? You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like, oh, Uncle Tom, like you're trying to do better for
Yeah.
yourself. It's like,
Yeah, and it's so sad, but it's like kind of, like I was telling you about how we were doing the prayer at Thanksgiving, and Papa brought up like, they didn't want us to be around this table saying grace. They separated us, and it's like, but that shit is true. Like that mentality of, and I think that's kind of, what is it, the crabs in the barrel,
yeah,
crabs in the,
crabs in a bucket.
it's really, I think that's just kind of something that unfortunately has been ingrained in a lot of minority communities just due to really things really were scarce.
Yeah,
Like,
or just I would just say like low socioeconomic communities.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Well, because I'm just thinking from a broad, because we were talking last night, right? So people have a hard time seeing past their own struggle.
See, intersectionality, everyone has struggle, and yes, I think class plays a huge part in how
Huge
people
role.
are treated. But if you have that double slap on you too, like,
That's the point that
I
people
mean,
miss.
poor white people weren't able to not read. You know what I mean? Like, you could read
Like you weren't gonna get your hand cut off
for
for
reading.
trying to read.
All right. So it was like, yes, but also like, nah, dog, we ain't.
Yeah, it's not quite the same.
It ain't the same,
Yeah,
bro. It ain't the same.
for sure,
I
for
don't know.
sure.
It's a tough pill for people to swallow. Like people, I love talking about it. I'll keep talking about it
We're
because
talking.
I don't know. I've talked to a lot of people who are like, why can't we just? It's like, no, because we can't. Because you're trying to deny some shit happen.
Yeah, that's the problem. I'm all about just like moving forward and not living in the past, because like, and some of it. whenever I was younger, just kind of being insensitive and like being half white and like raised by white people. Like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? Like my mom was white, my whole side of the family that I was predominantly around is white. Like it's not like I was kept away from my dad or anything like that, but I I wasn't raised uh in like the black
Yeah.
experience. I just wasn't. Like I experienced racism, I experienced these like certain things, but like I mean, I wasn't taught like you have to like moisturize your hair because I have different
Yeah.
texture. I,
Yeah.
seriously, like certain like I didn't grow up eating chitlins and fucking slave food. Not to say you did.
Slave. Oh my God, can I tell you a funny story though? Used to be on the swim team, and I remember like Farmington Fast or something like that. And one time I was in the locker room, and I had just taken a shower, and I was getting ready to put, and of course I'm the only black person at the fucking thing. I'm getting ready to put on my hair stuff, and one of the moms that was there stopped me and looked at the bottle and was like, "This is lotion. You shouldn't put this in your hair." I mean, obviously it was hair lotion, but she saw
She
it and
didn't
was
know.
like, "Don't put lotion in your fucking hair." Like,
Just not
so
knowing.
I went home and my mom was like, "Why didn't you moisturize your hair?" And I was like, "The lady told me it was lotion not to put it in there." She was like, "She don't know what you're talking about."
On the flip side, though, so okay, so for the folks listening, you and I are brothers and sisters. However, we didn't grow up in the same house. We have different moms, same dad, right?
Right.
Um,
Loose term. Dad's a loose term.
sperm donor. You know what I mean? Whatever the fuck you want to call that guy. But I can remember one time. So like, my mom never kept him away from me,
Yeah.
and like I can remember one time going over there and like he telling me I needed to put stuff in my hair. I'm like, no, dude. Like, I put water in my hair, bro. Like that's it. Like you got me fucked up. Like go call my mom.
Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So it wasn't that. But yeah, I mean, I was just like, no, man. So you just don't know.
I mean, you just don't know. And I think, like, very similar situation. Like, my grandparents are white, and I think they did the best that they could,
Hmm.
especially in that town, to make sure I had, like, black Barbie dolls and, pictures of black people around me, and, definitely try to make me feel like I was nothing, less than.
Yeah.
And it was hard when I did move up to the city, and people did have a lot of judgment for me the way that I quote talk white, or my grandparents are white, and people thought I was really stuck up, and it's really like I'm really just shy and I don't know y'all, and
Yeah.
this is different.
I really didn't know I was super different as a kid. Now that I like look back on it, I can pick out certain situations that happened. But like then, I didn't really think too much
Yeah.
about it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know I was fat, but I was. Like I knew I was black, but like I mean, in Potosi, like everybody else that was black was like my cousin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like some kids would say some shitty things that maybe they learned, but for the most part, most kids were cool. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So like certain things would happen, but for the most part, like everybody was just cool.
I think it was the parents more so.
For sure, it's a
um
learned trait for the most part.
yeah, like I remember this girl I was super close to, and one day we wound up getting into it, and I think I like scratched her or something, and you know comes to find out that her dad's going off. She's not hanging out with that N word anymore. Blah blah blah. Like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah, I can remember kids saying that, and I don't think they really understood. And it didn't really hit too hard for home for me. But there was a point to where like I did start understanding that, and then like there was like a KKK guy. And if anybody's listening to the podcast, they've heard me talk about it. But there was like a guy in Potosi used to scare the shit out of me as a child. But other than that, I feel like kids aren't too terrible. I mean, there's tribalism.
Yeah.
Kids are shitty in that way. But either way, whole tangent there. Let me come back to my one point though for a second. I never really identified like with like slavery. I'm like it didn't fucking happen to me. Like I wasn't there. And then like I never had that struggle. And being half white, I couldn't fully appreciate it. But like as I've gotten older, and like my mom always made sure that I understood. Like I remember one time she made me write like this 3-page book report on like black adventures and like just different things that they've contributed. And it was actually printed in the Potosi newspaper, which is pretty cool.
Aw.
But that made me aware of a lot of the fucking horrors
Yeah.
that happen to people. You know what I mean? I remember reading about a story, or maybe I watched it. It was this boy. He was walking home, and it was like nighttime or some shit. And these two guys were just out, just like hunting for black people. Like the first one they found is who was getting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking pull up on the
So
dude,
sad.
shotgun, kidnap him, and then the rest is history. They fucking hang him and take pictures and all that shit. And
So
I saw these pictures
insane.
as a kid, man. That shit that's why it terrified me of that guy so much.
Yeah.
I can remember like in Potosi, like I mean you've been there. It's like a small town. You go any small town in America, if
You
insert
get
the
that little
fucking
bit of
name,
nervousness. You just
dude.
fucking never
You
know,
know,
dude.
just in a neighborhood. You know, it's getting dark out. Maybe there's not any street lights. You know, you're fucking going home. You're a little black kid. Like at any moment, someone can just roll up on you and fucking just pick you up. And luckily, I had the wherewithal to like be aware
Yeah.
of that because not every kid is aware.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's some scary shit, though.
It is scary. I think it's scary to think that, and I haven't really dug too far into it. You know, you see those like freaking clickbait posts, but I think this is real. How, certain states are really writing shit out of books, and I think they've been writing stuff out of books for years, like gloss over stuff, 100%. But I think the idea of even just like completely removing any sort of
Yeah.
education about it, it's like, you know, it's just messed up because what you're going to create a generation of people who just don't think anything like that happens. Like, I mean, I guess if the is the point, who is that benefiting? Is the thought that, oh, make these things go away, it'll be less civil unrest? It's like I don't think that's the answer to,
No.
because it's one thing to say, you know what, we're not going to talk about this anymore, we're changing it, but then the systems also have to be changed. You can't just erase something and then have the system still be fucked up. Like,
Yes, yes. I mean, you have to acknowledge it and address it and just move forward. Like you
yeah,
can't
dude.
dwell on. So many people dwell on shit like that, and they look at like past injustices for a reason to like get over today,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
or maybe like they just look at it as like a reason to like not do more.
I would agree with that. I think, I don't know, it's a really delicate line to
Hmm.
walk between saying, someone just taking advantage and kind of using it to gain versus being like, okay, there are still some very real implications, and I think it really is a fine line between
Yeah, I
between
guess I'm
them.
just more so describing like a victim mindset.
Yes, I agree, but it's like if that's all you're taught, like, I think I don't know. I think everybody just does a lot of shit that they taught, whether it's the person who's being that racist or that person who is a victim of racism but has a victim mentality. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
all learned behavior.
Well, what point do you start teaching yourself?
You know what? That's a really good question. And I think that's a hard one to answer. I think everybody develops at different rates. Everybody has certain experiences that lead them to certain, frames of mind. And I don't think there's like a blanket time where it's like this is by the time that you need to be,
Yeah.
it's just tough. I think like life is way too complicated and to say, somebody should be doing something by a certain time.
Right. It's nuanced for sure, and that can be some of the issue. That statement, somebody needs to be doing something at a certain time. That can be the issue with like just kind of our,
Really a lot of shit.
especially like our education system. And going back to like being here and like in the Midwest, it's like, all right, well, now you got to graduate, and you're supposed to go to college immediately. This is the time that you're supposed to
Yeah,
do
and if
that.
you don't, then
You're a
you
fucking
feel,
yeah,
yeah.
you feel inadequate. You're a loser. Like, what do you mean? Like, okay, and then you're supposed to go get that corporate 9 to 5, and in our mind as a young kid, and you're ambitious, and you're going out in the world. It's just like, all right, well, I'm about to get this degree, and I'm gonna be making $100,000 in like a few years, and
a bunch of debt. Oh, yeah.
exactly, exactly.
I have all these pieces of paper and nothing to show
You
for
might
it.
just go down to the poorhouse. Can I get some more soup?
Some
Some more porridge,
What did
sir?
Kanye say? I got these degrees to keep me warm. Man, that was when Kanye was good stuff.
Oh my god.
It's like I mourn the loss of Kanye daily.
The fucking Kardashians just ruin people, man. They make you fucking crazy.
They're
Turn Lamar Odom into a crackhead.
they're the Antichrist. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Reggie Bush got out while he could. He realized, he said, this
He's like,
bitch
I
is
can't
crazy.
fucking do
He
this.
said, you know what, man? The pussy's too good. I gotta go. I gotta go. He said it's too good. I gotta go.
I
She has
gotta
to be
leave.
crazy.
I don't know. I think I have less of a problem with the actual Kardashians and more of an issue with how obsessed we are with celebrity and celebrity lives. Like,
Yeah.
it's I mean, and it is a distraction. It's something to do. People like the drama that's not their own. It's that spectatorship, and I understand that. But Jesus, I mean, it's just all about everyone is just trying to emulate what they think the celebrities are doing. And I mean, we could talk all day about like plastic surgery and all these social media expectations. You look at freaking what's her name, Kylie Jenner posting stuff, and all these girls trying to freaking do all these lip challenges.
Oh,
It's
for
just
real?
kind of like, yeah, people were like sucking on glasses.
Oh, yeah, I remember
And it's
that.
just kind of like, do y'all, y'all getting y'all money, like, good for y'all. But I think it's just a greater, speaks to kind of like a
Yeah.
greater societal issue that we have going on.
People annoy the fuck out of me because we make so there's people like that. You know, if you want to consume that, that's totally fine. I mean, there are 330 million people in the United
Yeah.
States. So if 1% of them are fucking watching the Kardashians, that's not that many. I mean, there's
Right.
there's going to be a 1% of fucking idiots out there. It just is what it
They're
is.
all watching the K's, the Kim K's.
But no, seriously. So I mean, it is annoying to see people who aren't like really providing any value like get super rich. But on that same note, if you're able to do it, good for
Dude, if
you.
you're able to do it, I mean, they
I'm
have
not mad at
really,
you.
I think the mom is, I don't know, somehow I still love Kris Jenner though, because I think she's like
Cause
so,
she's a gangster.
she's a fucking badass, and she's like, I'm pimping these hoes
All
out,
of them.
all of them.
Turn Bruce into a
Get
man.
your stuff.
I mean, turn Bruce into a
To woman.
woman.
Oh man, you know what? That's a whole other issue for me. I mean, I think I, I don't know if he's truly believes in his heart that that's he's a a woman, and I support all of that. I'm a big trans advocate. I just think that
But he
it,
doesn't support gay
it's just not a good
rights.
representation, and it doesn't really speak to what is really going on within the trans and non-binary community. Like, you do not speak for them, you do not represent
How
their
does he get
struggle.
Woman of the Year immediately?
It's fucked up when there's so many other people who have lived the struggle and have had to go through real adversity. They weren't just like, oh, I have the money, I can just get changed right now. People who had to like scrounge and save and have a bunch of freaking strife, they could have been fucking Woman of the Year. Like,
Right.
don't even piss me off.
Now you're like you're in this community in the sense like you have friends who do like you love drag.
Oh my god, I love drag so much. Oh, I'm like so thirsty for drag. Like, it's not even funny. Like, once I found out that women can do drag, I was like sold. Like, I got a couple of wigs. I got my makeup stockpiling. I'm practicing. Like,
How
I'm
does it work?
obsessed.
How can a woman do drag?
Because drag is less about what your physical body is, and it's more about the performance. It's more about kind of the artistry and the message that you are putting behind it. Like, I think a lot of people just think that drag is a man in a dress, and they're getting up there and they're lip singing and dancing or whatever, but a lot of people are working on real art,
Hmm.
and to see some of the different looks that they come up with, and just some of the concepts are just mind blowing, and I just love everything that comes into it. I mean, these people are skilled makeup artists. They make their own clothes. They're writing songs. I mean, some people are touring the country doing comedy and drag. I mean, the options are endless, and there's a lot of trans women who are doing drag. I mean, drag started in the minority, you know, non-binary trans queer communities. And so I think people forget that there are people who are not just, gay men doing it. And so you could totally be a woman. It's really all about the expression.
So what does it mean to dress in drag?
So my interpretation of dressing in drag is, you're kind of, I mean, yes, it's creating a persona, but I think it's putting on, I'm going to explain this so poorly, but it I don't know. It's kind of like expressing kind of like your inner self, and kind of
See what Google says. Keep
doing,
talking
yeah,
though.
do a Google search. It's like about putting on, I don't even know. I'm explaining it so badly. Look it up. The
I think you're
definition
doing
of drag.
fine. Well, in my mind, from the outside perspective, it almost seems like it's just like the show, almost.
I mean, it is
Putting
the
on wigs, the
show.
makeup, the dresses. I mean, it's predominantly men, but
It's
obviously it's open to others.
I'm blanking on the word.
What
It's not even like a
is
characterization,
drag?
but what is drag?
We'll find out. Drag queen came up. Well, see, that, I don't want to say drag queen because that's obvious, right? Can you also be a drag queen if you're not a dude?
So so there's drag kings, women who put on male gender. But you can be a woman and be putting on a woman's performance.
Huh. Well, okay, so drag not being the physical term like physics. So I got drag. The slang term drag refers to the wearing of clothing of the opposite sex and may be used as a noun in the expression in drag, or as an adjective as in a drag show.
I don't feel like that's adequate. I don't know. There's just a lot more emotion behind it, I think.
Now there is a different one here with drag queen, which says drag queens are people, usually male, obviously not always, but who dress in women's clothing and often act in exaggerated femininity and in feminine gender roles with a primarily. Okay, let me Let me click on it.
I don't know. I think it's more about what you're trying to say, I guess, is what I mean. Like, I think people use it as a
Oh, entertaining
means.
purpose.
I think, yes, it's entertaining, but I think a lot of people use it to speak a message and use it as some sort of political platform a lot of the
Yeah.
time.
So what I'm gathering is it's definitely like the showcase of it's like entertainment, but I think the elements of what make drag, whether it's a man or a woman, is like there is like the show aspect of it, but it's like the wigs and the makeup and the dress. Like it's very loud and boisterous. And
Well,
I mean, is that not that's
it's
dressing?
true.
That's
No,
dressing in
it
drag.
is true, but let me put it like this. So RuPaul, the queen of all queens, says that we're all born naked and the rest is drag. We all do drag every day. We all put on
Like a mask.
kind of like a mask of, you identify as this in society or society has put this on you. As a man, you wear this. You're kind of your outer presentation and your representation of self. And I think drag is a way that people are able to kind of take it a step further
Yeah.
and really choose how they're representing themselves and, maybe something that is beyond the everyday. But it
Mhm.
really is just like an exaggerated form of expression,
Yeah.
no different than just this shit that we put on every day.
Yeah.
We're all kind of performing.
Yeah. I mean, the things that we wear are often like an expression of self to a degree. It's like, well, like I don't know. Pick up like a T-shirt. What does this T-shirt say about me? Or like,
Yeah,
why do you pick that T-shirt? Because you're trying to express something. Like, why do kids
exactly.
say like I don't know, I heart New York? Because you're trying to send a message. I don't know.
Yeah, you are. I mean, people and the way that you dress does send signals about who you are. I mean, if you dress a certain way, people will either be like, okay, this person doesn't take care of themselves, or, oh, they put this outfit together. Maybe, you can make judgments and assumptions like, oh, they're a smart thinker. They paired these things together well, or they're tailored. They care about, you're able to kind of surmise so much information about someone of the way that they present themselves. And I think, people, you do, there is a certain level of strategy and how you present yourself to the world.
It's important to present your best foot forward, but on that same note, like that can also be an issue, right?
I
Because
mean, 100%.
people are just making judgments off what they. Because sometimes you go out looking like a fucking not you, but like sometimes we go out looking.
Damn.
We go out looking like fucking bums. Sometimes I think about that. Like if I haven't
True.
shaved in some weeks, or like I'm just out in like some
And you be
sweats or
out here getting
something.
judged. People can make so many judgments about you. And yes, but I also think that's like drag pokes fun at a lot of things.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of stereotypes and it blows them up. And I don't know, I just love it. It's fun. But I always think there's something that you can walk away kind of like considering from watching a drag performance. I mean, not all drag is phenomenal, artsy, mindful type shit. But there definitely is a lot that is. And it's
Yeah.
super fun and exciting
Yeah.
to see.
Now, what about the crazy people in that community that give like the rest of the people a bad name? Because there's crazy people in every community that give the rest a bad name, right? So, for example, let's just talk about trans people. For sure, some people were born in the wrong body, for sure, and like they know that. But then there's also that person who's just fucking crazy, and that could be true too. Why do we validate that person?
I guess like who?
Well, just
I don't know. I don't know. I
let's
feel like
just
people don't just
so okay, we have gender fluidity, right?
yeah.
Okay, and some people they won't even recognize like gender because like there's a biological scientific principle in gender. Like that's just science. Like that's nature. Like that's truth.
I mean, I think it depends on who you talk to. I think some people do make a hard distinction between actual like biological sex and gender expression because
But some
gender
people don't. That's who I'm talking about. The people who don't or like what if you're gender fluid? And one minute you're a woman, one minute you're a dude, and one minute you're just like whatever. You're a Z, you're a Zer, like whatever the fuck you are. Is that not just a fucking crazy person?
you know what?
Like, why
Honestly,
why are we bringing validity to this person's fucking madhouse?
honestly, I kind of think it's hard to say that because I don't ever want to devalidate anyone's experience, and I think that if that's been your life experience and this is how you feel truest to you, I'm definitely in support of that. I think that as someone who does feel that my biological sex and my gender expression match, I can't I can't say because I don't know what that's like. But
Yeah,
I want to have empathy for people who, I think there are so many people who face so much adversity for they're just fighting to be themselves.
I agree.
And so I do think, yes, there are probably one-offs. Life is confusing and hard, and I think it's really shitty to feel like, fuck, like I don't feel in line with
Yeah.
what I feel on the inside and what's going on the outside, and whether that be, I don't like to. I think when you start throwing around, like the word disorder, I don't want to, make anybody feel like they're wrong. I don't know what causes the kind of misalignment in that. I just ultimately my goal is to just I would love the world to get to a place where just have some respect and some empathy for somebody who has a different experience than you, and even if you don't fully understand it, I mean, you don't have to if they're not freaking raping and murdering children. And I think that goes for anybody. I mean, straight people, normal
Quote
average
unquote.
folks do some crazy foul fucked up shit. So
Oftentimes the most
the
fucked up
most fucked
shit
up shit. So you know what?
because they're suppressing something.
I am so unbothered if you are they or them. Let me know what you prefer, and I will respect you. Like that's it.
Yeah, I think yeah, I think it's cool that we have so many different people and like all these different experiences. Like it's not all for me, and I think you definitely have to have an open mind. It's
You
important.
do.
And I so a couple thoughts. So one, like, okay, I think we should acknowledge somebody's experience and their struggle. And if you're not harming anybody else, and you're just living your life, I'm all for it. That's all cool. What gets me is that, especially like so, one example that comes to mind. I was listening to Joe Rogan. He's talking about like this 45-year-old guy who has like three kids and he's married, and like all of a sudden he just decided that he's like a 9-year-old girl.
Yeah.
No, you're not a 9-year-old girl. You're a 45-year-old man. Like,
Yeah.
is that not just a crazy person? You know what I mean? Like, maybe he had like a some sort of mental breakdown or something. So why do we have to bring validity to that madness? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I understand that argument because I have one friend who I think she wants to be supportive, but I think she does have a lot of things that she just doesn't understand. And, every time we talk about trans folks a lot. Um, and she's always kind of like, okay, well, if I have to accept somebody's trans, like, why do people have a trouble accepting Rachel Dolezal, who's saying she's black? I think that's a valid point,
it
and I
is.
don't really, I really honestly don't have a good answer for that. Yo,
It's
I just
complicated.
want people to be like, we got bigger problems than worrying about what's than
Hmm.
that. Like, let's fix the systematic fucking issues so we could all be on equal footing. But that's not the overall goal. Like, the goal of whoever they are, the powers at play, like they want us to be at adversity. They don't want us to feel like we can trust and have security in the differences. Like
Yeah.
they don't want to let it be like that.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if it is it a they or is it just like people being people and
Dude,
like
it's
we're just
probably just people being people,
and we're
man.
just fucking crazy
It's
and we
just
can
mass chaos, and we put all these labels and these structures, and
yeah.
everybody just holds each other accountable. And
Yeah.
I think everybody just my I firmly believe that if society did not prescribe genders onto people, like if we just lived in a world where it was like, somebody was born, but we didn't necessarily say, male, female, whatever, like that's like an extreme
Mhm.
example. But I really think we would have far less people who had all these struggles as far as whether they're trans or non-binary or whatever, because when you're in a society that only gives you two options and you don't feel like you fit into those two options, that's where the conflict is. So I think that if we were in a world that didn't put certain expectations on people from just birth, I think that there'd be a lot less discomfort. But I
Yeah.
I really don't know how to fix it at this point. I mean, we just
Yeah, that's like that's like an individual in the house approach because that can go on both sides of the fence, right? So, I mean, there have been studies that shown that you give girls and boys an option between a traditionally like feminine and male and masculine toy, and boys tend to go towards the trucks and shit, and women tend to go towards not in every case, but there's science that's a scientific peer reviewed literature. Like you can go look this study up. That's true. So we have these innate things.
But here's my thing about that, because time and place changes what is considered male and female. Like
Yeah.
men used to wear heels. Pink used to be a boy color. So I feel like it's hard for me to be like, oh, this is a girl toy, this is a boy toy, and we just innately choose that.
But it's not 100% across the board, but in general, like that's what the study found. boys tend to go towards like trucks and girls tend to go towards like dolls, more nurturing things. It's just like, I mean, are women not naturally like tend to be nurturers? Again,
Dog,
nothing's across the
all
board.
these moms throwing their babies in the river.
Yeah, okay, but those are like the outliers, right?
I mean,
So,
I guess. I don't know. I don't.
and there's always exceptions to every rule. But my point is, so here's the flip side of the coin, right? So you have those guys who will be like, Jimmy, you can't play with a fucking Barbie doll. I grew up, I played with Barbie dolls. My mom never told me I couldn't play with those things. Like, I had an aunt, like, she played with Barbie dolls. I played with Barbie dolls. I also had uncles that played with trucks. I played with them. So I wasn't taught, like, one was wrong
Yeah.
over the other. So you have some people doing that. But on the same note, you have other people who will, like, little Jimmy, you sure you don't want to put on that dress? Are you sure? Like, are you sure you're not like binary? Like, you got these
Like
other crazy,
forcing the issue, what you're saying?
yeah, you got these other people who are acting like, okay, well, I'm not going to put a gender role on my kid. So what they do is they put the opposite gender role on their kid,
I mean,
and that's fucked up too.
I
Because
mean,
you see that all the time.
I do. I think, I mean, it's
It's
tough,
like, you
man.
sure you want to play with this truck? Maybe little Billy wants to play with the truck. Are you sure? You sure you don't want to go do this?
It's tough, man.
You know, who's to say that those assholes aren't doing that? And they are probably.
So
it's
it's
like,
really tough. I would like to think that if and when I have kids that I will just be able to support them in their choices. I
just
think
let them
it's
do their thing.
just let them do their thing, and I think regardless of whether it's a gender role or your views on race or your views on education, like everything you do influences your kids, and whether that's right or wrong, I think I don't know. It's like I feel like I'm at the point in life where I think you can really kind of justify any mindset because it's all about your experience and what you've been
You
taught
can
and
always
what you
justify it in
believe.
one way or another.
So, whether that's a person who is just severely believes that, being gay is wrong and that you're good. I mean, that's their whole worldview. I think as close as I, believe that is, that's something that they truly believe to be right. There's somebody
But that
who's
doesn't make it right.
it doesn't make it right. But it's like, you got that way and that's bad. Then you got the parent over there and you're like, you're letting them just do whatever they want. That's bad. I mean, it's like, where's the,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I mean, there's no fucking right answer here, and we're all just speculating here. I'm a fucking idiot, so whatever I say.
I mean, I just, and I was having this conversation with Kurt the other day. We were talking about doing a podcast, and he was saying like, well, I don't think people are, ready for my views or whatever, because he believes in like a bunch of like flat Earth theories and stuff.
He's
and
a flat earther.
oh my god, you know what? Listen,
Kurt, if you're listening, get your shit together, fucking.
He's gonna be so pissed that I said that.
I don't give a fuck. I'm glad you said that. Get your shit together, bro.
Hey,
Get
listen.
it fucking together.
So, but you know what? And here's the thing.
God damn.
I love a good conspiracy theory. I've been like watching a lot of like different YouTube videos. I mean, you can get down the rabbit hole.
But that's
on
the
any
problem with
fucking thing.
YouTube videos, right?
Oh my God,
Any
yeah.
guy with a fucking English accent can get on there and make you think.
No, that's my point. My point is that for any viewpoint that someone has, there can be people who agree and they can make all their videos and they can do their research that validates their opinion or whatever. And I guess my biggest thing is I'm comfortable kind of being like, I can consider multiple points. I don't fucking know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think it's important to be able to entertain different perspectives.
Tell me. Okay, so I think flat earth is just like a small example, but like,
That's
okay,
some silly
let's
shit.
say we're willing to, let's say in one, two, there's so many different flat earth opinions. There's somebody that you can believe in flat earth, but it looks different for each person that you're talking to. There's no one flat earth theory really. Okay, but say that you have sold me. Say that I'm like, you know what? I could see that be the case. Okay, so now tell me why they're keeping this from us, and then tell me what this now being truth. What are we gonna now do with this information?
Right.
So you're so passionate, but it's like, okay, so now what are we gonna do?
And I guess, what about the people that fly around the world?
I mean, it's just
What about them?
because I'm a firm believer that we only know what we're being told. So for all we know, we are in some dude's boot. I don't fucking know.
That's true, man. You don't fucking know. We never really do. I mean, shit, this could all be a goddamn simulation for some people, what some people believe.
We could be an atom on a speck, on a flea, on a fucking frog. I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
And so I think, yes, being passionate is great, but I also kind of think that It's like, yo, we don't even know what this is.
Yeah, man, it's
So
crazy.
I'm just gonna do the best that I can and try to treat people with respect and empathy and just be accountable. I'm so accountable.
Accountability
That
is
is the word
huge,
of my
man.
freaking week, and that has me so fired up. Don't be a shithead.
I mean, some people don't have accountability, dude, and it's a fucking shame. And yeah, just being a good person will take you a long way.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a question because so kind of backtracking a little bit. What about so? How do I want to say this? Society is so weird in that if something is deemed like taboo by like the masses or whatever the case may be, like you almost can't even seek help for it. And I can't remember what you're saying, but this is when we were talking about just the people being gay or whatnot, and I was having this conversation with somebody and things that are taboo, and I can't remember what exactly you said that maybe sparked this thought, but say if somebody is attracted to like kids.
Oh,
Did we have this conversation? We might not have. Either way, you have something that is just viewed as wrong, and
yeah.
you're not supposed to do it. Well, one, if we look over thousands of years, people
People
have
been
been
having sex with kids for so
for
long.
so it's pretty recent that we
It's
stopped.
and you know what?
From a
It's
biological standpoint, I mean,
true.
when you're a kid, I mean that's what we did, right? But then we've made it so taboo that if you do have that impulse, you can't even seek help for it.
Right.
Because if you do seek help, you're labeled and you're wrong, and then that leads to shame, and then people internalize that, and then that could lead to something, either they hurt themselves or they hurt somebody else, and
Yeah.
it just, you know what I mean?
Have you seen the TED Talk of the guy who's saying that he's a pedophile and that he's known he's a pedophile for his whole life and that has never offended, but this is something that he knows about himself, and he like goes into like the age ranges of why, who he's attracted to and why and all this stuff, and he's
Now,
like,
is he a pedophile? Right? Is that really the right word? Why are we
yes.
labeling him that? Has he done?
He
Has he?
identifies
But has
as
he
a
actually?
non-offending. I don't.
So is a pedophile somebody who actually does something, or is a pedophile somebody who's actually?
No, so a sex offender, because you don't have to be a pedophile to be a sex offender. You can do something to a kid out of other reasons versus being like actually attractive. A pedophile is someone who is that is their attraction.
Huh. Okay.
And so you can be attracted, that's what you're attracted to, but you don't have to have acted on it to be a pedophile.
Right. And there are a lot of people who don't act on those things. But then
Right.
you just live like in this fucking like
Right.
this world, like this hell almost.
Yeah.
And you can extrapolate that to almost
Anything.
any
Yeah.
taboo thing, whether it's a young man or young boy like growing up in like Midwest America, like where we are, and like you're gay and you're living in the fucking closet. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. And you know what
you
really
can't
pisses me
seek
off?
help.
People are trying to, and this is like a fake conservative initiative to say that, oh, the LGBTQ community wants to add pedophiles into, and it's like, no, no, we fucking don't, first of all. Like, but it does, I think it does make interesting conversation about acceptability and the value of a human if they have certain taboo ideals or thoughts or feelings or whatever. And I think people forget to realize that children were only children recently. Kids were fucking
Like,
laboring. You're grown, you can walk, you're in the fucking field, you're doing something. They
well,
weren't kids.
well, in the Jewish culture, you're a man at 13. So
Exactly.
where do you think that came from? You think that
Right.
came from being a little boy and oh no no now Tim, you're a fucking man. You just read some lines from the Quran and now you're a man. No, back in the fucking day, you were a goddamn man. You probably had a wife, you probably had land, you're probably doing something. You're a fucking man.
Yeah, kids are just recently kids.
Very recently.
And so I think
And in America, not that long ago, I mean, grown ass men were raping little girls all the time. How many slave women were raped?
I think it's very easy for people to forget what kind of take a step back and actually examine timelines of things.
Exactly. I just think it's important to have that perspective.
But a lot of people are so like, this is how things are. This is how they've been. This is,
It's always been
you
this
know,
way.
and I mean, I think there's something fantastic about stepping back and like really looking at society from like an anthropological standpoint. Like I am so into human behavior and kind of like seeing where we, came from, kind of speculating about where we're going and like really analyzing the way that we are, and how we interact. I mean, like I'm so into all that shit. Like it's like really gets me off. I don't know.
I'm into it too. It's just fascinating shit. I mean, we act like we're so advanced Today,
Right.
we're just fucking monkeys,
I mean, it's the same. It's
primates.
really the same shit, different day. You know, we've been doing the same type of things for hundreds of thousands of years. It might look a little different, but you know, and I think the more we have been able to kind of be in, like, I can go on and on about how farming is really the downfall of all of humanity, but
Farming is
yeah.
mass agriculture.
Well, yeah, because you're able, because once people started farming, they were able to stay in one place. They were able to start having possessions and forming larger communities. And once you have more people in more, in one place, you got to start making different rules. You got to start having different, ways of exchanging services, and it's kind of just extrapolated and kind of
Yeah.
resulted in this.
But we have so many people now. Could we live any other way?
No, there's no way we can't go back.
Yeah. You
Just
can't.
waiting on North Korea, man. I know, just kidding. Just kidding. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We're in a strange times, but yeah, nothing really changes. It does and it doesn't. People are still
Yeah.
so when you look back like overall the history of the world, like I think I said this on another podcast, but like in recent years, it's been a lot of white people doing all the fucked up shit around the world, but it hasn't always been that way.
No, I
Brown
mean,
people, I mean, the Mongols, I mean, Genghis Khan, I think is
the
yeah.
Django Khan. No, Genghis
He
Khan.
he wiped out like
Oh my
60% of
God,
the
yeah.
population of the world, and like some odd like I don't know how many people share his DNA. I mean, those weren't white people. And then you look at the Persians. The Persian Empire was once a great empire. Like that's the Middle Eastern. Like they fucking ruled the whole world. It's just like in recent years, this is where we're
Yeah.
at. This is the time that we're living in.
I mean, it's true, and I mean, that's why there's groups of people trying to force a new world order right now.
Really?
Yeah, that's like what ISIS is.
Oh, is
Whatever
that?
they're calling themselves now.
I guess I just never thought of it in that
But
perspective.
that's what their goal is, because, and that's why, I mean, and of course, I mean, America's far more involved than we would ever. Let me be quiet. Anyway, let me be
Amen.
quiet. But anyway, the point is, I think their overall initiative is to bring a new world order and what they believe the world should be,
Yeah.
versus the Americanized capitalist system.
Yeah. Now I don't watch the news, but I think it was on somewhere. Maybe it was like at the hotel, and they're talking like we're pulling out troops
Hmm.
of that area, which I guess we've been doing for like the past like decade. But I think like they're all finally like,
Pull out, pull all the way out.
yeah, I think we're pulling out.
God, pull out came strong. No.
Yep. Hey, listen, we don't need any fucking.
America never pulls out. Leave it in Holland.
The world is our child.
Oh God, America.
You gotta support it.
God bless us, everyone.
Pair child support.
Jeez, I could go on. I'd be like scared. You never know, like come assassinate you. I had like a crazy thought the other day, and I said it out loud. And I'm like, ooh, I probably should say it.
But I mean, are we that important? Are they gonna come to us?
Yo, you just have a motherfucking no. What if they like listen and it's just like, nope, she got that right. End her now, right
Yeah.
now.
Well, you mentioned conspiracies earlier, and like, I mean, a conspiracy is only a conspiracy until it's proven.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, some of them aren't true, but some are.
Could be totally true. I mean, you just never know. I mean, it's hard to know what information you're getting is true. I think especially now when there's so much and you don't know where the information is really coming from. I mean, people are not taking the time to freaking vet info now.
No, it's just whatever kind of supports your bias, your you want
It's
confirmation
easy to do
bias.
that.
It really is.
And I think people don't really value talking to people. People don't value talking to people with different viewpoints. I love having discussions. I'm not here for you to 100% agree with me. I would like people to kind of, walk away maybe being more open to something if they're super rigid, but
Yeah.
ultimately I want things to consider too. Like, because I think sometimes if you're going to want to try to bring people along, you got to understand where they're coming from too, and kind of put things in a way that they can understand and kind of be like,
Yeah, and it's okay to have a difference of opinion.
yeah, 100%. I
Like
think
that's totally
people
fine.
are so. If you don't agree with me, you're this horrible person. And yes, there's a lot of fucked up, horrible views that I'm like, I will never associate with that. I'll never be okay with that. But I think there is a lot more common ground out there than there is really different ground. And I think, everybody is so like caught up in this person is the enemy and they don't agree and they're in this camp and they're in that. And also too, I think a lot of people don't even know why they feel the way that they feel.
They just
Like,
feel it.
yeah, like I remember one of the guys from my improv class, we used to go out after class every week, and we started talking about politics. And, he was a very proud Trump supporter, and I was kind of just in a very non-confrontational way. It was just kind of like asking him about, well, what about this? Or, what are your thoughts on that? Or, well, how does this make you feel? And he just was nutting up. He just could not even really even give great answers as to why he voted for this person.
Yeah.
Well, it's just kind of the same. Well, he's something different, and he's good at this, and it's like, okay, well, you know, why would you have respect for somebody who's done X, Y, and Z? Well, he has the highest job in the land. Well, would you want to work for somebody like that? That's your boss. Well, then I started asking him about. He throws out there like, well, I was one of the people that during desegregation I had to get bussed out to a different school or whatever, and he was just like, I'm fine with things desegregating, but I don't understand why I had to get shipped out from being going to school with my friends for it. Like,
So he's holding on to something that he experienced.
yeah, so I mean, I guess as a kid, when you just want to go to school with all your friends, you're not really worried about them being white, I guess, so much. You just want to go to school with your friends, and you're kind of getting thrown into a bigger you know game plan
So
of.
is he a black guy that went to a white
No,
school?
he's white.
He's a white
He's a
guy
white dude, yeah.
that couldn't go to his own school.
Correct. For whatever reason, they did some deseg and had to ship some white kids to different, I don't know, make it the race mix, different. So he
Huh.
was really upset about that.
I would be too as a kid.
So, but I think in a way that he's probably not fully conscious of, it's probably tainted a lot of his views on race relations.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
those are types of things that, unless you really talk to people, you don't really know. And I think those are all things to consider. Those all are experiences. For example, my uncle and my mom were adopted. My grandparents are white. And my aunt, kind of finally recently opened up about kind of what her experience was like, growing up in a smaller town and her parents adopting, these two black kids and what it was like for the siblings that were already there. And I mean, I think everybody has a different perspective, and it wasn't all, roses for them that there was these two black kids here. Not that they, were racist per se, but, it just
But you're
kind of.
associated.
Exactly.
Called a nigger lover, and who else
Ex-
knows what the fuck you're called?
exactly. So, but I don't know, I just wish there was more understanding. And I just think that people are so caught up in their viewpoints and, attaching themselves to this icon or that icon that, everyone's kind of being duped.
Yeah, man. People just need to get out of their own fucking way and just use their brain sometimes.
Like
You know what I mean?
you wanted to vote for him because he didn't represent this, but he's still fooling you. Like, I didn't want to vote for Hillary. Like, I low key had to go have several drinks afterwards.
They all, I mean, they're all on the same team.
Exactly.
I think the whole system's just fucked up. I don't understand
100%.
why. Like, so okay, let's say we can't. Like, I'm not all for like anarchy, and let's say we can't just like completely do it. Yeah, fuck it all.
Just doing whatever, purging.
Purging. Who's your first purge victim?
Oh God, you know what? I think if the purge happened, I would just be trying to just do some basic survival. And sometimes I think like, man, those what are they called? Doomsday preppers. I mean, they really are onto something because I mean,
Yeah.
as crazy as a stockpile and all that shit kind of is, it's like, I mean, I guess I'm also like, do I really want to live in that world?
Well,
Like,
safety is an illusion. Really think about that.
yeah.
Safety is truly so we're taught to think that everything's safe, but the moment that somebody starts shooting up in a fucking movie
No.
theater, nobody's safe.
No one
right?
is safe.
Nobody's fucking safe. And we like to think that because things are pretty good here in America that it's like that. But you got idealistic hippies who will go and hike through the Middle East and they're getting their heads chopped off.
Yeah.
The world is not necessarily safe. You know what I mean? And
No.
like we live with like blinders on sometimes.
Well, not only is it not safe from each other, I mean, look, just nature.
Nature.
Like
Hurricanes, tornadoes.
volcanoes.
Nothing's perfect.
No.
Nothing's static. And we talked. You talked about people staying in one spot. Like we act like I just set up a city here, so this is how like the city's supposed to always be here. Well, guess what? New Orleans has been flooded how many fucking times? Maybe you
Right.
should probably pick a different spot. I don't know. I'm just saying. Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, well, we like things that are familiar, and we like to be able to kind of take root and be proud of something and where we're from, and it does say about it. It's part of our identity, and I
Yeah.
think if when people don't have identity, they really struggle.
Yeah.
So
We're all searching to connect with something, Raven. We all search for something. So what's next for you? Where are you traveling to next? What's
I think that, well, somebody just invited me to Denver, and the end of January, so we still got to kind of iron that out, and then I think I'm gonna do that. But then go to New Orleans. I have a friend that lives there, and you know,
That'd be cool. I've
she's
never
an
been.
artist, and just kind of seeing what she's into. She's always got some pretty out there ideas, and her art is very unique. I think
Yeah.
it's a little off-putting to people at first,
When are you
but
going to do that?
I want to say like February or March maybe.
Oh shit.
So yeah, I haven't been to New Orleans in years, and I wasn't there for long enough to get the really like full appreciation. So I'm excited to go back and see what's up with that. But other than that, like I want to plan like a big trip. I just don't know where. Like definitely outside of the United States, but I don't know where. There's so many options.
Yeah.
It's like where do you and just pick somewhere.
So if Deja and I don't go to Greece first, the next like the big trip like outside of the states for me is Peru.
That would be cool.
Go down to is it Couscous? Is that what it is? No, it's not Couscous. It's Machu Picchu.
I'm like couscous is
It's
delicious though.
delicious. Yeah, no, Machu Picchu and go check out like the temples and
Hmm.
shit, and then maybe go talk to the gods.
Hey man, yeah. You know what? So okay, so um I've been watching this guy, and again, he's very conspiracy theory, and it's just kind of like, okay, where are you getting your research from, dude? But he talks about a lot about how all of these, all of these archaeological findings and all of these chambers and tombs and stuff, but and how there's a lot of shit that we're just not opening, and that like the archaeological communities and a lot of the governments are like, we're not opening these things. And I just think it's crazy to think like all of these like Mayan ruins and African ruins and stuff. Like there's rooms in there that they're just refusing to disclose what's in there, and like
Do we need to open them?
I don't know, but it's like no, but I think my biggest thing is kind of like, well, why are we saying we can't? What's in there? Do y'all know what's in there, and y'all just not like what's up?
Could it affect the structural integrity of the place, or could there be like some sort of bacteria or something in there? Who fucking knows, man? Those
Yeah,
movies with those curses and shit, man. Who fucking knows, man? You break the seal, the wind comes out, you hear a weird
it's
noise,
you
and
know what?
next thing
It's
you know, you
true.
got a fucking mummy taking your eyes.
It's
I don't
it's
fucking
true.
know, dude.
It's true because I was watching. I just watched so many videos. This talking about how can we ensure that like things like nuclear waste sites well into the future. How can we ensure that our symbols that we commonly recognize for as danger, like if we saw the like skull and crossbones or the nuclear whatever, we all would recognize that right now as danger, like don't go there. How do we ensure that hundreds of thousands of years these nuclear sites, how do we ensure that people are like, don't fucking open this shit?
Yeah, well, we don't have that shit. That's how.
I mean, but we got the shit.
We do got the
We got the
shit.
shit. So
It's
I
ridiculous,
mean,
though.
so it could be possible. Like maybe we're like we don't want to open it because it could be. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows? But at the same time, it just also kind of just puts that grain of like, why y'all, or like a government kind of like using a site as a dump. Like why y'all using this site as a dump? Like why are you guys, or just kind of
St.
like,
Louis is a well-known site for the government to dump shit. Like back in the day, they like put shit in the water and like they like it's documented. Like they tested on the fucking city
oh yeah,
people.
that what is that St. Charles Bridge? What is that fucking Breckenridge? What is that area over there off of St. Charles Rock Road
Oh, you're talking
and
about Bridgeton. So you're talking.
Bridgeton?
Yeah, you're talking about that was my next
The
point.
festering
Yeah,
nuclear dump that they have.
yeah. So that's a whole different issue, and that's affecting a lot of people in like North County. All these like cases of cancer and
Oh my
shit.
god, yeah, this lady I worked with at Target totally had cancer. Has been living in that area for like 40 years.
I know this guy who's been living there forever, and I was talking to him about, it, and he can remember like when there wasn't fences and shit up there by the airport, and they were just dumping that shit, and people used to like go and like play in that fucking like
Oh
those
my
piles
god,
of whatever that waste was and shit like that, this nuclear waste and shit.
gross.
So it's like there's that, and then like I don't know,
It's
man.
just too bad. You just like you spiral down the like the level of disrespect that we have for the land and each other, like our waste byproducts is insane.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I just don't understand why we don't have more forethought and actually like why does greed and money really overpower like what needs to be done? Like, like why are
Yeah,
we using fossil fuels?
yeah,
Why when we were kids were we told that the fossil fuels were going to run out?
yeah. Oh, Kurt
Creating
also says that
scarcity.
he doesn't think that fossil fuels are real.
They're not real? What are they?
I told him I when he said that to me, I made him gloss over it. I'm like, we're not even gonna talk about
What is
this.
oil
We're like,
then?
we're not gonna talk about this.
Now, is it now? I don't necessarily know. Like, is that from like bones that have been down there for millions? I don't know if that's necessarily true. I wonder if sometimes fuel is just like oil is just something that like
It just
it
is.
just is and it's just created, and then somebody made up some fucking marketing story to create scarcity, and it's like this is where these are coming from, and we're gonna call
I
these
mean,
fossil fuels. These
I
must be fossils, and
that
there's
sounds
not.
reasonable to me. I mean, fuck, like we live off of the whole like you only have a limited amount of it. That's why people we have such disparity between people literally having nothing and people having so much.
But if we were gonna run out, why haven't we done it yet? And maybe there's a shit ton in there. In which case, if it is going to run out, why are we depleting the earth of this resource, which we don't know what's going to happen when it's depleted? If it's there in the first place, maybe it's supposed to be there. Why are we not using other sources of energy like like thermo? Fucking forgot the word thermo. I can't think
I'm
of.
blanking on that. I don't know.
Ah!
There's lots of different energy sources,
I'm pissed
but
off. Either way, using heat from the bottom of the ocean.
yeah.
And then you could use the currents from the ocean to turn for to power turbines. You can use solar power, wind power, all these clean renewable sources.
And so I'm just like, well, okay, so obviously the value of it for the world powers far outweighs all of those things because we they keep doing it for a reason.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I don't know who's behind the curtains.
I don't know. It's craziness though. It's
It is
craziness.
crazy. I could go on all day. Like you, I just never know. I'm willing to entertain anybody's argument about anything that's going on. Like, tell me, let me know.
I mean, I love a good conspiracy too. Like, but some of them just aren't realistic.
I mean, not everything is a conspiracy. I mean, I really think like, I don't know. Cause you just, I don't know.
Just depends.
Just depends.
Just fucking depends, Raven. Goddamn. Well, how can folks get a hold of you? We've been talking for a little bit now.
Uh,
Let's wrap this up. How can folks get a hold of you? Talk about the podcast that you're on. I know it's not your podcast, but if people wanted to like check you
yeah, if
out,
people want to listen to a ridiculous fake news show, where but you know what? I think it's really funny because we do talk a lot about politics, and the main character on it, my friend plays this, ridiculous person who is so prone to just getting involved in all of these different cults and just someone who has like zero accountability for their life, and I don't know, it just kind of like a greater play on a lot of things that are going on right now, like so like I was telling you how I'm supposed to be the serious newscaster, and the way the show is set up, she picks her articles and then I have my articles, but her articles, like, she'll like get BuzzFeed listicles and be like, yeah, I found this important news or whatever. Or she'll like, one time we did a show where all of her news were just ads, and she was like,
the whole thing was ads.
the whole thing were ads, and she was just like, it is just really, I'm that character who just kind of will poke every single hole that I can in her logic. Like sometimes, and it's so funny because it's all improv, and she'll say something, and I'm like, oh, you got to stand on that, you got to explain that. I'd be like, but yeah, like really elaborate on this, like, so tell me more about this. So it's really fun. Like, so I think in the last season we wrapped up. She originally was involved in Scientology, and they like repossessed all of her possessions, and
Like the real person or the on the show?
on the show, on the show, and she lost her prized collection of Now CDs. The Church of Scientology took it, and she got into this religion called commentarianism, and we had her friend get on there, and he played like the head of the commentary. It was like we have
What is
like
commentarianism?
something about some fucking comet, and it landed, and they drank the juices from it. I don't know, some ridiculous totally made up bullshit, but the guy is so convincing. Like, I was listening to it and he had everything like laid out about this religion, and I was like, holy shit, like, what am I listening to right now? Like, it just ridiculous. So anyway, she was really involved with commentarianism, and she gets this boyfriend who, his name is Mop, but he is a like non-gender conforming person. Like, so sometimes he's like Karen, I don't know, but like he's like, she lives in a comedy warehouse basement, and he lives in the apartment. Like, he kicked her out and like brings girls over. It's just crazy, and like it's basically about her downward spiral into commentarianism, and then being with this guy who's in commentarianism and who like takes advantage of her and like hit her and left her in a cave. It's crazy. I don't know. Like, it
Must be
sounds so ridiculous and phantasmal, but
God damn.
But basically, but within this whole story plot, we're doing news articles. So it's not about the news, you know what I mean? It's really about
Yeah.
this just like elaborate plot. So at the end of last season, she was supposed to get married, and part of the ceremony was he left her in this cave for like all these days, and she like escaped the cave and didn't tell him. And like so we have all these fake mails from him because we had a voicemail line that people would call into us, and she would play it on the show. And so he would like call
That's
in and like
dope.
leave messages and stuff. So anyway, so she was feeling like we've been on this kick about corn. Like we are obsessed with corn. Like for her birthday, I made her a those prayer candles with the saints on it, but I like put her face on the saint, and instead of like a little scepter, I like put corn like a ear of corn. And so we're obsessed with corn. We're
Children
always
of the
talking about
corn.
corn. Like we're always like corn is our friend Lily, her husband is in like the solo band with himself. He calls himself Big Nude, and he just makes like trap comedy music. I don't know. So anyway, he made this song called "Corn is God is Corn," and he's like, "Look at all the things corn is God is." Like this is just simply a group message. Like we love corn. Like oh, Justin should make a song about corn, and she's like out like 5 hours later. She's like here, and it's like a real whole song. So anyway, so
About
she's
corn.
about corn. So she's ditching commentarianism, ditching her terrible relationship, and really embracing herself, and she really just feels like corn is the way for whatever reason. Like so she started like phasing in the corn song at the end of every podcast. Like I just really love this song. So now she's escaped commentarianism, and now this new season is going to be about her and her journey into we are still trying to work out the word, but basically of the people who are worshiping the corn. I don't know, so we don't know what that's going to really look like, but it's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be totally ridiculous. So we always 10, 15 minutes before work out a loose little plot line. And it's like, okay, you got your fucking articles. Because it's not even about the
It
articles.
sounds hilarious, though. I need to listen to it. Quit being a piece of shit.
So, well, in fairness, you called me out on my shit. I haven't seen the podcast. Be the vet. Love you. I think. So, I think you can still support people, and I'm not expecting everybody to listen to every single fucking episode of my
Yeah.
podcast because it is so ridiculous. And I think you definitely got to be like willing to just follow craziness to stay on top of it. But yeah, I mean, you can add me on Facebook, even though I don't have the Facebook app, just add me. I'm active on there. Raven C. Powell. And then my Instagram. Shit, what's my Instagram?
I don't know. I'll put it in the notes, though.
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
can tell it to folks, too.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, you can see my picture of my horrible drag attempt on there. I'm like not posting any of my practice photos of me in drag
You
because they're
have to.
so awful.
No, that's why you should, so people can go through that journey with you. That's
Ugh.
what you should make your Instagram page about, just all drag of you.
I am gonna redo it. I've started kind of going through and deleting things because I just don't really want
Well,
half the shit that's
Well,
on
you're
here.
curating a page at the end of the day. I mean, you're trying to create a place where people want to come and, like, view your content.
Nope. Marcus made a song called "Vote If You Dope." I'm trying to delete this shit.
Vote if you dope.
Vote. Oh my god, move.
Vote if you dope, yo.
Yeah, it's _ RAE _ CAG.
Ray Che?
Ray Shay.
Ray Che?
Yeah, people want to make it Che, but it's Shay.
It's not Che.
It's not Che. It's
Shay.
it's Shay. And it has an accent over the E. And I asked my mom one time, and I don't know if the story is true, maybe it is, but I was like, "Where'd you get that from?" And she's like, she saw on the news that this little girl had like gone missing and like had been murdered by her like brother and his friends. And she's like, "I really like that name."
Shut
though."
up.
I'm so serious. I'm so fucking serious.
That's how I got both my names. So I was named after Adam, like the little boy. He was kidnapped and murdered, and I think his dad did like America's Most Wanted, like that little boy. There's a Netflix documentary on
She's
it.
like, Adam sounds good.
Yeah, and then I was named. My middle name is Joseph, and I was named after like her brother, like my uncle. He died like 2 or 3 or something from like smallpox.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so I'm just named after dead
There are
people.
people. I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, I always tell people my first name is based off of the Edgar Allan Poe poem, and I was really, really hoping that was true. And I asked my uncle about it, and he's like, "No, you're named after Raven Simone." I'm like, I'm not fucking telling nobody that.
Don't
I
tell
hate that
anybody
bitch.
that. That's not a true
It's
story.
the first thing people say, and I'm like, don't. I love how people are like, "Oh, that's so Raven. How often do you hear that?" Fucking every day from every fucking person I meet.
Well, the good news is you can choose however your name was born now because there's nobody gonna argue.
Like, tell me different. Tell me I'm not named after a dark macabre poem.
Nobody.
Check me, ho, check me.
Might get your life.
No, I'm like, no, I'm speaking it to, it's my dark inner soul. I want to feel like a goth unicorn on the inside. Or that is how I feel. I don't know how to like express that outwardly.
I don't know, a goth unicorn.
A goth unicorn that loves minimalism and classic lines.
Paint your hooves black.
Just like, I don't know. I think it just, I guess I say that to say like
The rainbows just shades
I
of
really
gray.
appreciate like a level of like darkness and macabre, and but I also love shit like rainbows and glitter and all of that warm fuzzy psychedelic looking stuff, but also like I can embrace some bleak shit
I mean,
too.
that's the dichotomy of life, right?
Yeah. So, maybe a rainbow that a unicorn that, has a dermal piercing on their face like I do. I don't know.
A dermal piercing
Just a
on her
little
face.
just a little edge.
Just a little edge, little punk rock unicorn.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
love it.
exactly.
I fucking love it. All right, then. It's been fun,
Well, thanks for
Raven.
having me on the podcast.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna like land a plane or something. It's like real in a helicopter.
If we were in a car, we feel like we were definitely in a cockpit.
People would drive by and be like, "What the fuck are they doing?" We're in a
Yep.
simulation.
This was me and my boy Justin driving back to St. Louis on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were fucking podcasting in the car. I'm gonna release that podcast actually today.
I feel like that would be so hard for me to focus on the road.
It's not that bad. Well, the good news is you don't actually have to like look at the road, right? Because we can hear everything.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
and like I'm in the passenger seat, so I wasn't like looking at him, so that way he wouldn't look at me.
Yeah. Yeah. Just drive.
Yeah, just drive. Just drive. No one needs to die.
Be cool. Don't turn your head, dude. Don't turn your head.
All right, then. Anything else you want to leave the people with?
No, just be kind to one another. I think that's it. Just take a chance and step outside of yourself, and I don't know, just give some other energy and perspective, outside perspective. Oh my god, a chance. Blam.
That's what it's about.
Boom boom.
All right, folks. Until next time.
Bye.